Hi, my name is Zach Bush, and I'm with CarNow on the business development team. And I'd like to first thank you for those watching this webinar to learn a little bit more today about CarNow and about our relationship with digital retailing in the Subaru Digital program, and hopefully how we can provide a product that works for your dealership and helps to bring in more business, fluidly from the online process, exploration process, all the way into walking into the door, and then even products that will help your sales team to capitalize on our technology and the best of your dealership in closing deals with customers in the store itself. So before I jump in to the demo of our two DR products, Buy Now and Up Now, I'd like to just talk briefly about our company and, again, how we moved into the DR sphere and some of the successes we've had. So Buy Now is the first ever live assisted digital retailing platform in automotive. It's a 24/7, 365 white glove concierge experience, meeting your customers where they're at with the expectations that they have, and helping them to move through some of the hurdles that DR has created or can be a challenge for customers to navigate. So in this, our live assisted agents are able to help guide the consumer if they have questions, right? They're able to work them down that purchase funnel and be there so that if they do get stumped and they do reach out, which we see is, in some DR tools, that 30 to 40% of the time a customer has a question. And if that question can't be answered, they're going to jump to something that's easier to use. So you'll see our DR tools are very customer friendly. And they're certainly built out of great respect for what you're doing at the dealership. So they're definitely automotive friendly as well, and dealer friendly. The question then being, well, how did we get into DR? Buy Now and Up Now, our two digital retailing products, are still fairly new. How we entered into the digital space was through our chat and SMS tool called Message Now. And what Message Now attempted to do, and what Message Now continues to do, is be a white glove concierge experience for the customer. It's not just your basic chat, what's your name, what's your phone number, customer has a question, I'm sorry, I can't answer you, our management will get back in touch with you, can I get your contact info? What we did in Message Now was, again, we met customers where they were at. We gave customers what they expected. We gave customers really more than what they expected, so that in being engaged in our tool with our agents or with the dealership's agents, they feel like they're getting that one-on-one attention. They're getting the education. They're being enticed. And they're more likely with that information, whether it be model brochures, comparisons, videos, inventory off your lot, questions that are answered, they're more likely to actually come in and buy a vehicle. So what we wanted to do in DR was we wanted to find something that was extremely interactive for customers. It was easy to use, that was customer friendly, and that incorporated all of the best of what is going on in your showroom into a product that went way beyond forms. Because we found that the forms can generate a lead, but it doesn't necessarily bring someone into the store. And certainly, if they want to learn more, they're having to toggle through a lot of different browsers, and you don't really know what they're looking at. You don't really know what they're interested in. They're just submitting their information to you. So in DR, when we came up with Buy Now and Up Now, we wanted to take that same idea, right? How can we cocoon, and maybe for a lack of a better word, how can we love that customer long enough to have them be excited to come into the store, but also give your salespeople and managers in the store a lot of information that they need to close the deal in a quicker period of time. So what Buy Now is essentially is kind of a TSA pre-check or a TurboTax, right? What's in it for the customer? If I work through these processes and these steps, I'm going to save a significant amount of time when I come into the dealership. And on the dealership side, when you receive these leads or engaged in Buy Now, when the customer comes in, it's going to shave a lot of time off of your team having to close a deal so they can go to the next one, right? And everyone's happy. Everyone's happy. So that's kind of how we got into Buy Now. And then Up Now, which you'll see at the tail end of the demo, is giving your salespeople and managers on an iPad or on a tablet, they can access model brochures, trade-in tool, all in one place, videos, the Buy Now technology, right? They're able to sit or walk around the showroom with a customer with an iPad in hand and work them through the deal without interruption. And what's great when you see Up Now on the desktop, which of course, it's preferred to have it on a tablet in the store, you'll see that the customer, they can ask the customer all the questions that they need to, but they can be out on the floor on a test drive and already working through that deal. And so, really it's a super smooth process in working the customer from preliminary questions all the way through a trade-in and closing a deal in the store. So Buy Now, customer-facing DR tool. Up Now is in dealership, but certainly is interactive with the customer in the hands of the salesperson. Couple more things here, training approach. So CarNow really prides itself not only on customizing the technology to the needs of the dealerships that we work with and making sure everything is clicking exactly the way that you want it to click, but part of that is we have more trainers, we have more boots on the ground at CarNow than any other segment of employees. We call them our regional performance managers. Whether it's chat or DR, any of our products, we do not follow that set it and forget it type mentality. From the minute that you enroll and the enrollment's approved and we have it in our hands, we have an internal team, a support team at our home base. It's going to reach out to you and start to grab all the preliminary information that we need. We will send a questionnaire that's pretty detailed, and we don't expect the turnaround to be right away. But you are able to answer questions that will help us design the tool to your store's liking, what to include, what not to include, and we can go really deep in that questionnaire. And then, after, that process of anywhere from about 7 to 10 business days for the DR tools, when we get close to launching that and going live, our trainers, our performance manager will come into the store and we'll walk you through that entire process of what the tool is, the back end, make revisions, tweak things, show you how it looks on the customer-facing view, show you how the team can get engaged if they want to be there when a customer has a question instead of our 24/7, 365 agents. We can talk about that as well, and we can get them trained. We can have your finance managers trained on if there is a hot deal going on in a Buy Now interaction and how they can get involved off their cell phone, right? Literally clicking on a link in their text message and they can get involved in the negotiation process. And then even better than that, we come back every 4 weeks or so. Whatever you guys set, whatever you like as a preference, we'll come back and continue to refresh and continue to sit down and open up the tool and tweak it to improve it. And also talk about the performance as well and how it's working within your store, and ask you how it's working so we can make changes. DMS integrations. So there are a lot out there, and we're always working on more DMS integrations. Right now, we're CDK 3PA third-party approved, 100%. We're 50% there with Dealer Track Open Track, and we're 75% there with Reynolds RCI. So those are moving along nicely. Last thing I want to touch upon really quick is the success of the tool. One of the great areas of success is in our F&I education within the tool and the ability for customers to look at F&I packages. So I'll show you where that is in the demo. But of customers that viewed this stage of the protection products, we saw in the Williams Automotive Group in Tampa, all using our Buy Now tool, that there was a 27% increase in the number of products sold per unit just by customers who were viewing the F&I products within the tool. There was a 27% increase in the number of products sold per unit as compared to customers who did not view that section. So what the Williams Automotive Group saw was that when customers were engaged and even just reading about the F&I packages, that when they came in, those customers were, again, 27% increase in the number of products sold per unit. And so just having the F&I packages there, just having a lot of the information we have in there is helping to generate more deals and better deals. So without further ado, I'm going to take you through two demos. The first demo, what you see right here on the screen on the left, is just a mock-up of a Subaru site. This is our demo site. It's not live. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see our back end. At the store level with Buy Now, the customer can work through the entire process without chatting if they do want to chat. This is what our 24/7, 365 agents would see. Just like our chat tool, they would have a notification pop up. They could jump in and answer questions, send inventory or model brochures. They're certainly not going to negotiate pricing or talk about anything above their pay grade. But basic info, answering questions, helping the customer move through the deal if they need that help, we're there for you guys. If you have an internet team that would like to be on the answering end, again, not jumping in and necessarily greeting the customer right away and freaking them out, letting them work through the process. But if they had questions, we can train your internet team to be able to answer questions off of Buy Now. And then in the demo, I'll show you if a customer has a specific question that is more suited for a manager, like wants to negotiate. There is a way that trained managers at your store can literally answer the notification off their cell phone, off their tablet, or off of their desktop if they're logged into CarNow. And I'll show you what that looks like as well. But let's focus on the left-hand side. All of our buttons are customizable. So this is just going to be a basic SRP. But we can put Buy Now buttons or estimate payments or view to learn about payments, whatever verbiage, whatever color, whatever design you like. We're extremely flexible. On our demo site, we just have Buy Now. It makes it easy. But again, we'll put our buttons on the SRP, on the VDP. We can create banners above the images on the VDP. Whatever you like, we're very open to it and we'll work with you. As soon as I click Buy Now, I'll have a little bit of an iframe wrap and just an introduction here. In most cases, we're just going to go ahead and reserve the car. Notice nothing has happened on our back end yet. Nothing would happen on your side yet until the customer gets through the first stage of registration details. So we're going to go ahead and put my name in, email with the customer. And what's really important is the customer is sharing their zip where they're going to register their vehicle. Our tool is extremely accurate, penny perfect accurate on taxes and registration based off of that US zip code in our back end. So that's what really gets the ball rolling. Not only does it start in generating the lead, but again, it starts with the accuracy of the deal process. Okay. All right. Notice on the right-hand side, now that the customer's provided contact information, Again, unless your team wants to be engaged, nothing will happen in terms of interaction until the customer asks a question. So I'll cover that up for right now. On the left-hand side, what you'll see on the left-hand panel are all of the stages the customer can work through to get to the point where they set an appointment, review their deal, and come in. Pretty much everything on the left-hand side is customizable. We can move. Like say if you wanted the registration information to be a few stages down, we could do that. If there was something in here you didn't like delivery forms, you're like, I don't really want that in here. We can get rid of that. Customizable documents or in-home delivery or deposit. Everything you see here we'll customize before we go live. In the middle is what the customer's actively working on. The first stage after registration information and contact information is our customizable payment calculator. It's a live payment calculator that changes as the customer, maybe changes their down payment. It changed the lease deal, the finance deal, the cash deal. You can play around, with lengths of loan. If you're in leasing, then terms of the lease and annual mileage. Also, the customer has the ability at any given time until they're done with the entire process of sending a request. This is that situation where, we would train your managers to look out for notification like this. Of course, if it was during on hours, the managers that you have designated to answer these really kind of important requests, we would have them trained and show them how they could, pick this up and jump into a conversation. An example of that might be if they wanted a lower payment. Nothing on this side sets the expectation that a manager has to jump in. So the customer just can continue the process and know that it's just a request that they send into the dealership. It's not, a mandatory response. They're not sitting there going, okay, when is a manager going to write me back? And of course, if they have any questions, the live chat tool, the live assistance, is on the far right-hand side. And I can type, hello, I need help. Our agents would pick this up, or your agents at the dealership could pick this up and work with the customer in live time. And if it's a manager, they can go ahead and they can negotiate by clicking on make an offer. And then they can play around with a very simple desking tool. I even hate to say desking, but they can play with trade-in, APR discount, and send an offer back to the customer. So let's get back to customer facing. This is where really all the bells and whistles are. As soon as the customer's played around with the payment calculator, they can go ahead and move through the process. If there are any offers, we have offers integrated through AIS. You can go ahead and add those. We have a trade-in tool. So we have a variety of integrations on trade-in. We just believe that it's good to have the trade-in tool in there. Obviously, it's very important for the deal in progress, but also to move that customer from emotion to a more reason-based understanding or estimate of what their vehicle might be worth. We have the integration with trade pending, which is what you'll see in just a moment. But we also, can do Kelley Blue Book, trade-in marketplace, book value. We can mix and match whichever trade tool that you like, trade tool technology. So let's look at a 2017 Subaru Outback, just to keep it clean. This has access to every make and manufacturer in North America. I can change my mileage, say to 60,000, and get estimate. If I don't want to do a trade-in, I also have the ability as a customer to not engage in the trade-in. All right, I can put how much I owe on that vehicle, and all of this is going to be built into that deal in progress that you see over here. And so what's great about trade pending specifically is how they explain the deal. how they explain the estimated values. They start with supply. How many are for sale or recently sold by franchise dealerships within a customizable mile radius of the zip where the dealership is located. Value to dealer, just minimum and maximum estimated value of your car to dealers based on listed vehicle prices and calculations below. Demand index, how quickly is that vehicle moving in the marketplace? A nice scatter plot that shows vehicles in the marketplace, shows their price, how far they are from you, their mileage, all of that good stuff. And then what I think is great is how Trade Pending calculates estimated value. They'll start with that list price range, minimum max, and then show the deductions that the customer would expect, or should expect when they come into the dealership to give an estimated value to a dealer. Pretty much all of this is customizable. We can work with you there on these numbers. And then, of course, the fine print. This is not an offer to purchase your vehicle. All values are derived from real market data and adjusted daily, and final inspection is required. But a great tool in there, and that's also in our chat tool and in Up Now. And so we continue. Packages. This is what we talked about earlier. We have an integration with F&I Express, and in that integration, we just have tons and tons and tons of ancillary products and F&I packages and products for the customer to learn about. We'll work with you to pare down and customize what's visible. But again, as we talked about with that case study, the customer has the ability to look at a brochure or video, learn all about that package. They can add it to the deal. If they're not comfortable adding it yet, they're more than likely going to be open to it when they come in because they've already gotten an idea of what's there and how it relates to their vehicle. So really great tool. Moving along, credit. Credit's kind of an iffy thing here. We have different integrations for credit, and we have a soft pull credit integration with 700 credit that returns a full file report. But what we do try to stay away from are customers inputting privy information, social security number, date of birth. They don't input that in our system, right? So security-wise, you're not having to kind of worry about that when this tool is integrated on the site. But it helps a customer move closer to that penny perfect accuracy. If they're honest with themselves, of course, we can't judge that, but they can select their tier, and that impacts the deal. If they want to check their credit, we can do that through 700 credit. We're also working with Dealer Track as well. And then if they want to just go ahead and apply for credit and start an application, we can integrate your finance URL where your credit application is located on your site, integrated into our backend so they can securely start the credit application on your site. And it's still associated with this deal. And again, that cuts down on time as well. Customer can set an appointment. Obviously, we want to have that there. We want to encourage them to set an appointment. So say tomorrow at noon. In the last stages, if they want to save 5 or 10 minutes in the dealership, they can go ahead and input their driver's license, add that, their insurance card. They also have the ability here, you see in the lower right-hand corner, to send files, photos, videos. That could be helpful if they wanted to send pictures of the vehicle they're bringing in for trade-in. And our agents and or anyone at the dealership using the tool can also send that as well. Delivery forms. Before we get there, we want to go ahead and confirm our address. This is optional. In-home delivery, or delivery forms is also optional. We don't have a lot of dealerships that want to include forms, but these are all just examples, right? We would never put forms in. Certainly, they would be the forms that you want to include. And if you did want them there, the customer can do e-signatures to save time. If not, this just disappears. Same with in-home delivery. If you guys have the in-home delivery set up, we can integrate that as well with interest or not interest, get the ball rolling. If you don't, delete it. Deposits are the same thing. We'll work with, sort of the basics, Square, and PayPal and others. But if you don't want that there, everything here, we can take off or include, and it's at no additional cost or deduction. And then lastly, customer, before they commit, can review the work they've done. Everything is going to be on the dealership side as a built-up lead, and they can go ahead and confirm the deal. In doing so, this congratulations and thank you message will be emailed and texted to the customer. And then on this side, everything that the customer did will be pushed over as a lead to your dealership. Even if your team wasn't involved in the conversation or in the deal, everything you see here and everything they looked at is pushed over as well. So again, the fluidity, right, is that they'll walk into the dealership after your team has reviewed that lead and not have to, go back over a lot of this. Maybe do one hard pull if they didn't do it, and then of course, the trade-in and paperwork. So we'll give you, give the customer about a 80% head start if they work through the process all the way through. All right, so that is Buy Now. That's definitely a little longer of a demo than Up Now, because what you'll see in Up Now is a little bit of repetition from not only our chat product, but from Buy Now. When we get to the point in Up Now where you see everything that we did in Buy Now, I certainly won't go over that in detail, but want to show you how great this DR tool is for your team. You saw Buy Now, customer facing. They can work through it, as deep as they like. They can start it, stop it. They can do it from the privacy of their own home. But when a customer walks in who's never done Buy Now, and they're walking around the lot or they're walking around the showroom and they're looking at vehicles, and your salespeople come and greet them and they start to ask basic, interview questions, basic questions to help them give an idea of how they can help the customer. How great will it be now to have, as you'll see as soon as we log in here, all of these resources at the fingertips of your sales team to be able to excite and entice and work the customer through a deal. Pardon my Wi-Fi connection. Let's try this one more time. Okay, so your team has their iPad. They're able to log in to Up Now with a specific username and password that helps them keep up with their deals. Or if you want to have it as a kiosk for customers to walk in and start the process on their own, you can set it up at a desk as a kiosk, and they can, not log in, but just join as a guest and start building up a lead. But let's look at it from the hands of your salespeople. This is on their iPad. When the customer walks in and they're working with them early on, they can ask them specific questions, about if it's pre-owned, obviously about the manufacturer. But if it's a Subaru vehicle, about the make, about the trim, you can start to take all of the inventory that's on your lot and pare it down to a much more reasonable number. You can ask the customer what they're willing to put down. What if they know their credit tier or an estimate of their credit tier, their preferences on leasing terms, lease mileage, or if they're doing a finance deal, the number of months, trade-in, that would come a little later. And again, they can flip over from lease to finance. Again, play around here with down payment, play around here with value of the vehicle, the price range, the mileage. And what that does is it allows your team to build all the info they need, but instead of having to kind of write all of this down and process it, it's going to alter the inventory they see on their iPad in live time. It's going to just make things a lot quicker and smoother. So we can start there in sort of that interview preliminary process with the customer. Moving over, before we ever get into the actual deal, help the customer, with the credit process. You can pass that over to them. They can fill it out, or they can ask and fill it in for the customer. Trade-in. We looked at this already, but we have the integration with trade pending. We have the integration with KBB, different types of books. And so as you saw in the Buy Now demo, we can go ahead and type that information in and get the ball rolling there on what the customer has, and try to get them in a new vehicle. Brochures. This is something you didn't see in Buy Now, but it's something that is a great tool in our Message Now product. You'll have access to different makes, like the Crosstrek, right? If the customer wants to learn a little bit more about the Crosstrek, or if your sales team, they know a lot, but if they're stumped, on the new Crosstrek, and there's a very specific question about the 2.0 iLimited CVT, then on their iPad, they're able to open it up and answer very specific questions about options, manufacturer options that come with that vehicle. Again, keep the ball rolling. Don't pause. Don't let the customer walk over and sit down and start researching other dealerships on their phone. You have it all in the hands of your salespeople as they're working this deal. They can also create comparisons. You'll see some that are already loaded up, maybe starting with that Subaru Crosstrek and comparing it to Volkswagen and a Hyundai. If they want to create one that's completely new, they can do that as well. But let me show you what this looks like after it's created. You start with, obviously, the Subaru, whatever that is, and then you can compare it either to what the customer's currently in or what they're shopping against you. And the salesperson has a really, really great snapshot of a comparison they can share with the customer and answer questions, things like fuel economy, right, where the Subaru wins out, or interior dimensions, right, exterior dimensions, crash test ratings, things like that. Videos, obviously this isn't live, but we can bake in your dealership's YouTube feed, as well as Subaru's YouTube feed, and show, walk around videos at the same time, in the hands of the agent. There really is no need, because your salesperson is probably walking them around that awesome vehicle, but it's there. And so last but not least, when you and the customer have found their ideal piece of inventory, just go ahead and click on View Payments. And as you saw in the Buy Now demo, from registration all the way down to setting an appointment, and sending the entire deal to your dealership, your sales team can control this process and work the customer through. Just like in Buy Now, the customer had the ability to ask questions to our agents. You have the ability, not you, your sales team has the ability off of their iPad to ask questions to managers. Instead of having to leave that customer sitting in the box, you're able to ask those questions in live time, and get sort of some of the permissions maybe, or the pricing and approvals that salesperson needs to close that deal. Everything is on the iPad. So that's what Up Now is. Again, I didn't want to take you through every aspect of Buy Now because you saw that in the Buy Now demo. But Up Now gives a salesperson the power, the information, and the tools to entice a customer and work them through that process to purchasing the vehicle before they leave. So I know that was a lot of information. These tools are very robust. But you'll see that they're also very customer friendly. They're also very dealer friendly. And our goal really is not to reinvent the wheel, but to make it a much smoother, more effective, fluid process from the time spent online to the customer actually walking in. And in the case of Up Now, working with a salesperson who can utilize the technology to close this deal in a way that is familiar and comfortable with the customer. So I thank you. Again, my name is Zach Bush with CarNow. My contact information is Zach, Z-A-C-H, at CarNow, CarNow.com. And of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And I thank you so much for being on this demo. Take care.